Snow pressed softly against the window like the world itself was holding its breath, and in that silence, a single father sat alone on Christmas night, staring at a half-lit tree that felt more like a reminder of loss than a symbol of joy. His hands were wrapped around a mug that had long gone cold, and the house echoed with memories instead of laughter. This was not how he imagined Christmas would look after promising his child, now fast asleep in the next room, that life would somehow still be warm and safe after everything they had lost. Before the story continues, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet miracles that arrive when hope feels impossible, take a moment to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to the channel Soul Tales so more heartfelt stories can reach the right hearts. He had not always been alone. There was a time when the house smelled of cinnamon and laughter, when Christmas meant 2 pairs of footsteps moving through the hallway, when love felt permanent. But life had unraveled in ways he never saw coming. His wife's sudden passing had split his world in two, leaving him to pick up the fragments while learning how to be both mother and father to a child who still asked why the sky had taken her away. Work became survival, not ambition. Every morning he woke before dawn, preparing lunches, tying shoelaces, hiding his exhaustion behind a steady voice. At night, when the lights were off and the world was quiet, grief came back like a tide, slow but relentless. He worked for a powerful company, one run by a woman whose name carried weight in boardrooms and headlines. She was known as unbreakable, a CEO who never slowed down, never showed weakness, never let emotions cloud decisions. To him, she was simply the woman whose emails arrived late at night and whose expectations felt heavier than his already full shoulders. He respected her, feared her a little, and never imagined that their lives could intersect beyond spreadsheets and deadlines. He never spoke about his personal life at work. Pain, he had learned, was private. Christmas Eve passed quietly. He put on a brave smile for his child, cooked a modest dinner, and read a story before bed. When the house finally settled into silence, loneliness filled every corner. Outside, distant fireworks popped, celebrating joy he felt separated from. Midnight approached, and he assumed the night would end as it began, empty and still. That was when the knock came. It was gentle, almost hesitant, as if whoever stood on the other side was unsure they belonged there. At first, he thought he imagined it. No one visited at midnight on Christmas. But the knock came again, firmer this time, carrying a strange urgency. He opened the door cautiously, heart racing, and there she stood. Not the untouchable executive from glass offices and magazine covers, but a woman wrapped in a winter coat, eyes tired, shoulders heavy, holding the cold air at bay like she had been standing there longer than planned. Snow clung to her hair, and the city lights behind her made her look unreal, like a dream stitched into the night. She had discovered more about him than he realized. Not through gossip, but through quiet observation. Late work hours. Missed company parties. A pattern of restraint and responsibility that told a story of sacrifice. That night, something had pushed her to act on an instinct she usually ignored. She had driven through empty streets, guided by an address she pulled from company records, unsure of what she would find, only knowing she could not spend another Christmas pretending strength was the same as happiness. The house felt smaller with her inside, but warmer too. The fire crackled, casting light on walls that had grown used to shadows. They sat not as CEO and employee, but as two adults worn down by life in different ways. Without formalities, the air between them softened. She saw the framed photos, the child's drawings taped to the fridge, the quiet signs of a man holding a family together with sheer will. He saw something in her eyes that no boardroom ever revealed, a loneliness just as deep, hidden behind success and control. Time passed differently after that. Christmas night blurred into early morning as the world outside slept. The weight he carried did not disappear, but it shifted. For the first time in a long while, he felt seen without having to explain himself. She did not offer solutions or pity. She offered presence, and it was enough. When his child woke briefly and peeked from the hallway, seeing another adult in the house did not cause fear, only curiosity. A gentle smile passed between them all, a small moment that felt like a promise. In the days that followed, life did not suddenly become perfect. There were still lunches to pack, meetings to attend, grief to navigate. But something had changed. At work, her gaze held understanding instead of distance. Expectations became humane. Opportunities arose that respected his role as a father. Outside of work, they began sharing quiet moments, not rushing, not labeling, just allowing warmth to exist where there had been none. He learned that she carried her own losses. A childhood spent proving worth. Relationships sacrificed for ambition. Holidays celebrated in empty penthouses. Success had given her power, but not peace. In his modest home, she found something money never bought, a sense of belonging that grew from care, not control. In her strength, he found reassurance that leaning on someone did not mean falling apart. Seasons changed, and Christmas returned, this time with laughter echoing through the same rooms that once held silence. The tree stood brighter, surrounded by shared traditions and new memories. The child laughed freely, unaware of how fragile happiness once felt. The man no longer stared at the clock on lonely nights. The woman no longer drove through cities alone, chasing distractions. What began as a midnight knock became a turning point neither of them planned but both desperately needed. If this story has reached something soft inside you, if it reminded you that healing can arrive quietly and love does not always announce itself loudly, please take a moment near the end of this video to like, share, and engage so stories like this continue to be told. And before the ending fades, leave a comment below telling us what this story made you feel, because your words might be the hope someone else is searching for tonight. Life does not always change with fireworks or grand gestures. Sometimes it changes with a knock at the door, with courage born from loneliness, with two broken pieces recognizing they do not have to stay broken forever. And in that simple truth, Christmas found its meaning again, not in gifts or lights, but in the quiet miracle of being there for one another when the world feels cold.